And now from Ganesh Puran, we read this beautiful katha, my dear friends, from Pon Kailash Parvat, Shankar Bhagwan and Devi Parvati Mata engage in a discussion. And this discussion, my dear friends, provokes the thoughts of Parvati Mata, which leads to the creation of Shri Ganesh Bhagwan. Jai Jai Ganapati, Jai Ganapati, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganapati, Jai Jai. Jai Jai Ganapati, Jai Ganapati, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganapati, Jai Jai. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganapati, Jai Jai. Sutaji Maharaj bole, He Munishwaru. This beautiful katha was first narrated by Sutaji Maharaj to Shaunak Muni and the other 88,000 rishis and munis in the Naimisharanya forest. एक समय पार्वती जी की दो सखियां जिनका नाम जय और विजय था, उनके पास जाकर कहने लगे कि हे माता जी, यहाँ पर कैलाश पर जितने भी शिव शंकर भगवान, भृंगी आरी, नंदी त्रिशूल को वन में है, उपवन को हमारा कोई नहीं होते हैं। वह सभी होते हैं जिनका नाम आज्ञा का पालन करते हैं, और उन्होंने ही द्वार पर खड़े हुए रहते हैं। कदाचित यह हमारे, परंतु फिर भी उनका और हमारा मन वही मिलता है। इसलिए पापों को नाश करने वाले आपकी हमारे निश्चय एक गण में रचना अवश्य को चाहिए। जब सखिया को पार्वती जी के ऐसे ऐसे वचन कहने उन्होंने रचना हिता कर को समझ को कैलाश पर बैठे हुए थे। जय जय गणपति, जय गणपति, जय गणेश, जय गणपति, जय जय। जय जय गणपति, जय गणपति, जय गणेश, जय गणपति, जय जय। जय गणेश, जय गणपति, जय जय। प्रेम से बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय। Lord Shiva is having a discussion with Parvati Mata upon Kailash Parvat. The various phases of life and the stages through which all of us would have to go through. And in particular, they are speaking of the role that a father would play in the life of his daughter, the role that a husband would play in the life of his wife, and the role that a son would play in the life of his mother. And Lord Shiva is saying to her, O Devi, when that child is very young, when a girl child is very young, she is under the care and protection of her Pitaji, of her father. He, the father, provides for his daughter, protects his daughter, and teaches his daughter as a guru would teach a shishya. Then he goes on to say to her, as that child would mature and of course become a young lady, eventually of course she would become married. In due course of time, she is under the protection of her husband. Her husband would similarly provide for her and protect her from, whatever dangers and difficulties and so on that so surrounds us. We live in very dangerous times now, and, so many dangers come even into our homes. We hear of people, having home invasions and so on. So the role and function, Lord Shiva is speaking of the father, firstly as that protector, then the husband becomes the protector, and as she advances in age, Lord Shiva is saying that now the son becomes a provider and protector for that mother as she has now become elderly. Perhaps the husband himself may have passed on. And Parvati is listening attentively, to what Lord Shiva is describing to her. And she's thinking to herself, well, I have a husband, I have a companion in the form of my Lord Sadashiv Bhagwan, but I have no son. At that point of time, of course, she did not create, she had not as yet created Ganesh Bhagwan. And so this discussion goes on for some time, and Lord Shiva leaves Kailash Parvat. And he leaves Parvati Mata very thoughtful. Sometimes you may have a discussion, a conversation with someone, and after that conversation comes to an end, whatever that person may have discussed with you would leave you in a very thoughtful frame of mind. Perhaps I might make a better effort, a greater effort in what I am doing in the home or at work or as a Hindu, whatever the conversation would have been about. And certainly this conversation, my dear friends, has provoked the mind and the thoughts of Parvati Mata. And just as she's thinking of this, two of her attendants, Jaya and Vijay, and despite their names, both of them are female. Jai and Vijay are the female attendants of Parvati Mata. They come and join her. They know that, Lord Shiva has left Kailash Parvat and she's there sitting alone. And so they come and join her company. And they too are having a conversation with Parvati Mata, which projects the same thought. That as yet she's not, she has not had a child. And what they're saying to her, Devi, whatever we see upon Kailash Parvat reminds us of Lord Shiva. If we see Nandi, we think of Lord Shiva. If we see the Trishul, whom do you think of? Lord Shiva. If you see the Damaru, what do you think of? Lord Shiva. You think of the Jata, the matted hair, Ganga flowing from the matted hair, whom do you think of? Shankar Bhagwan. None of this, O Devi Parvati, reminds us of you. Yet you are a full-time resident here, the companion, the consort of Lord Shiva. But nothing here reminds us of you. So the conversation of Lord Shiva, combined with the observation of Jai and Vijay, convinces Parvati Mata that I must do something about this. And so, my dear friends, after Jai and Vijay leaves, Parvati Mata removes some of the male from her body. And if you look for an English translation of male, you would say the male is the muck. When you remove, when you bathe and when you scrub your hands and feet and so on, something comes off. And that male is already dead cells that you are removing from your hand and your face and your feet and your body. So she removes the male, the cells from her body, my dear friends. Remember, Parvati Mata is none other than Jagat Janani, Devi Durga Mata. So taking these cells from her body, my dear friends, Parvati Mata forms these cells together and she gives the breath of life to all of us. And so, taking these cells from her own body, my dear friends, she gives now, earlier when we started, we spoke of the Pran Pratishta. When you do Stapan ceremony, when we say we Stapan Kare, the murti, we install the murti. One of the mantras that Baba recites is the Pran Pratishta mantra. And Pran is the virtually translates into the vital breath of life. So in other words, when you use that Pran Pratishta mantra, we invoke the breath of life into this murti that is made out of clay, that, my dear friends, becomes alive for us. So when Parvati Mata, my dear friends, gives to that mass of cells that she has removed from her own body, that Pran, that vital breath of air, that mass of cells comes alive in the form of that boy, that baby boy, Ganesh Bhagwan. Prem se bole Shri Gajanan Swami ki jai. In fact, it was not a baby. She created, my dear friends, Lord Ganesh, as a young boy. Not in the form of a little popo, a little baby, but in fact, Lord Ganesh, at the time of creation, was created, in the form of a balak, or a young boy. There are many instances where it is mentioned in our scriptures, not just in Ganesh Puran. For instance, when you read Devi Bhagavad Puran, you will read of a katha of Rakt Bij. Rakt means blood, and Bij means to germinate. Rakt Bij had a very unique and strange vardhan. If he lost blood, every drop of blood that fell and came into contact with the earth would germinate or produce someone identical to him. Just as you germinate a seed, the baigan, the pepper, the bodhi, when the seeds are germinate, what does it produce? Of course, plants identical to the one that you have planted, that you have sown in the soil. So Rakta Bij had that unique vardhan, my dear friends. Every drop of blood would produce someone identical to him. Now, the students of biology would tell you that the blood, my dear friends, contains the chromosomes. The cells that are needed for replication or reproduction. This is what Parvati Mata has done. Taking the cells from her body, remember, again, scientific knowledge tells us, in fact, today we have major scientific breakthrough where the Western world and scientists have now developed a system, my dear friends, of simply pairing cells together and reproducing a living entity, and they call it cloning, isn't it? That happens today. There was a time, when we would read this katha, people would say, but something like this cannot happen. This is impossible. How can you just take cells and bring forth a living entity? Now we know, of course, she is goddess Parvati, an incarnation of Ad Shakti Devi Durga Mata. She possessed divine powers. Now we know human beings, my dear friends. The great scientific minds have developed, scientific systems of cloning and so on, where of course you can use these cells together and produce living entities. And of course, they have cloned sheep and whatever other animals thus far. Even in Bhagavad Puran Katha, we're told that Balram, remember, Balram was the seventh child of Devaki. And remember, Raja Kans, the brother of Devaki, my dear friends, was told that the eighth child of his sister Devaki would kill him. And what he had done? First he had tried to kill her on the day of her marriage. But then when Vasudeva had begged for the life of his wife, he spared Devaki's life. But he says, each child that is born to you, you must present that child to me. And what he had done, he killed all of the children. But the seventh child was Balram. And Balram, of course, as you know, is the brother of Lord Krishna. And something miraculous happened. For Balram was removed from the womb of Devaki, my dear friends, and placed in the womb of Rohini. This was the only way in which Balram was saved, and we know that Balram played a significant role in Bhagavad Puran Katha. Now again, this transfer of the fetus from one womb to the other is taking place today. There was a time the detractors in Hinduism said, no, impossible, simply cannot happen. Now, my dear friends, it is happening. The remarkable thing about all of this, my dear friends, the remarkable thing about all of this is Our katha that we're reading is thousands of years old, way before anybody dreamt that such a thing was even possible. What this points to, my dear friends, is the highly advanced scientific and technological information and knowledge, my dear friends, that exists in the ancient Hindu scriptures that Western scientists and researchers are only now developing as new scientific breakthroughs. Sadly and unfortunately, sometimes as Hindus, we do not research and we do not investigate and we do not appreciate, my dear friends, the depth of knowledge that exists in these ancient texts. And of course, when we read katha such as this, that Parvati taking the cells from her body, the male from the body, my dear friends, produces this beautiful child, Ganesh Bhagwan, that balak, that boy, Ganesh Bhagwan, breathing life into that little child, my dear friends. She placed him upon her lap, and as a mother would teach her son, teach her child, son or daughter, she placing him upon her lap, she began to teach him many wonderful lessons and give him certain specific instructions that a mother would give to her child. सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजासुत की कथा सुनाए. And this bhajan tells us, my dear friends, exactly as we're discussing in Katha. Satyug ki ek baat bataye, Girijasut ki katha sunaye. O devotee, listen to this beautiful katha that occurred in Satyug. Of course, we have Satyug, Treta, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. We live, obviously, in Kali Yuga. But this katha occurred in Satyug. Girijasut, another name of Parvati, is Girija, the beautiful katha of the son of Parvati Mata. Pratha snan ki bela thi wo, koi na tha pehra dekha jo. मूरत एक माटी की बनाई, प्राण प्रतिष्ठा उसमें कराई. बोली किसी को आने न देना, जब तक ना आदेश सुनाई. Removing that male from her body, she performed that pran pratishtha, that vital breath of air she gave to Lord Ganesh and brought him to life. सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजासुत की कथा सुनाए. सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजासुत की कथा सुनाए. प्रातः स्नान की बेला थी वो, कोई न था पहरा देखा जो. मूरत एक माटी की बनाई, प्राण प्रतिष्ठा उसमें कराई. बोली किसी को आने न देना, जब तक ना आदेश सुनाए. सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजासुत की कथा सुनाए. इतने में शंकर जी पधारे, और बालक ने रोके द्वारे. शिव ने कोप किया तब भारी, ले त्रिशूल निज सुच पे चलाई। सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजा सुत की कथा सुनाए। शीश उतारा उस बालक का, व्याकुल हाल था पार्वती का। भूली हुई शंकर ने जानी, कैसे किसको प्राण दिलाए। सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजा सुत की कथा सुनाए। बोली सती की जीव हो ऐसा, जो मांगे सन्मुख ना सोई। सृष्टि घूम के देखा शिव ने, ऐसे तो गज सुत ही पाए। सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजा सुत की कथा सुनाए। शीश ले आए प्रभु गज सुत का, बालक को नभ जन्म दिलाए। उस दिन से बन गए गजानन, उस दिन से बन गए गजानन। श्री गणेश गणपति कहलाए। सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजा सुत की कथा सुनाए। सतयुग की एक बात बताए, गिरिजा सुत की कथा सुनाए। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। जय गणपति जय जय गजानन, जय जय गणेश गणराजा। प्रेम से बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। My dear friends, cradling that baby, that child Ganesh upon her lap, she's saying to him, Ganapati, you must be obedient at all times. Whatever instructions I give to you, you must try to follow these instructions unhesitatingly, O Ganesh. Obedience to your mother, obedience to your scriptures, to the scriptural injunctions and doctrines is very important. One must be truthful, one must be honest, O Ganesh, in all one's undertakings and dealings with others. You must never treat anyone unfairly or unjustly. All of these are very important lessons, my dear friends. Obedience is not for children alone. Obedience is for all of us. Whether you're a child in school, whether you're a parent in home, wife, husband, as a Hindu, we need to be obedient. That's why you're here tonight. We have obediently followed the calendar. Today is Ganesh Utsav, Ganesh Chaturthi, the first day in Ganesh Utsav. And we have come to the mandir, my dear friends, not just tonight, but of course the coming night, straight until the day of Visarjan. We'll come and perform puja and worship of Lord Ganesh. So obedience, my dear friends, covers all of us. It is required, a requirement for all of us. If in the home, the wife or the husband is not obedient in terms of carrying the functions of the home forward, that home will suffer. The children will suffer. If as a worker you are not obedient on the job, of course the worker must be punctual, must be regular, must follow and carry out the mandate and portfolio of his job. If we do not obediently do so, then, my dear friends, the workplace would suffer. Of course, we have evidence of that today. So many aspects of our society, that's supposed to function in a particular way is not functioning, obviously, because someone is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. In other words, they are being disobedient. So the simple lessons of Parvati Mata spoken to Lord Ganesh is applicable to all of us. Honesty is lacking in today's society. She says to him, O Ganapati, you must be honest at all times. You must not treat anyone unjustly or unfairly. We have so many instances of that in our society. Just I think in last week's newspaper, one gentleman sold his house twice to two different people. Of course, the police caught up with him and he's in jail now. Because what you have done, you have, unfairly taken payment from someone for a house which they do not have, they're not in possession of. And of course, that's just one example. There are so many examples today of, my dear friends, people treating others unjustly and unfairly. And there are a series of situations where people are trying to outsmart others and, illegally, take hold of their possessions and their money and wealth and riches and so on. So do not treat anyone unjustly or unfairly. Have respect for all. O Ganapati. Wonderful lessons, my dear friends. Control your anger at all times. Try not to become angry, O Ganesh. Speak the truth. Do not utter any falsehood. All of these, my dear devotees, are the wonderful lessons that this mother, Parvati Mata, is teaching to her son, Ganesh. Question is, when was the last time you as a parent spoke to your child in this way? These lessons are very important, especially so, next week, Monday, children are returning to school. Do we as parents have a little conversation with the children before they go back to school? In many instances, my dear friends, it does not happen. Because as soon as the children go back to school, we hear of so many fights taking place, knives being taken to the school, drugs being taken to the school, all sorts of illicit activities taking place in the school. So while some parents may speak to their children, in many other instances, it is not happening. Simple lessons, but very important, very critical, my dear friends, in today's society. क्रोध न छोरा, झूठ न छोरा. And this bhajan, my dear friends, is echoing the words and the lessons of Parvati Mata. Krodh is anger. Destroy anger. Jhoot na chora. Jhoot is falsehood. Do not speak lies. Satya vachan kyu na choda diya. Satya is truthfulness. Speak the truth at all times. And also, Naam japan kyu choda diya. Always chant the name of Bhagwan. Whether it's Ganapati Baba, Shankar Bhagwan, Sri Ram, Bhagwan Krishna, whichever aspect of the divine you choose to glorify, always chant Bhagwan's name. क्रोध न छोरा, झूठ न छोरा, क्रोध न छोरा, झूठ न छोरा, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया. क्रोध न छोरा, झूठ न छोरा, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। झूठे जग में जी ललचाकर, झूठे जग में जी ललचाकर, अतल वतन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। कौड़ी को तो खूब संभाला, कौड़ी को तो खूब संभाला, लाल रतन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। जेहि सुमिरन के अति सुख पावो, जेहि सुमिरन के अति सुख पावो, सो सुमिरन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। कालिस इत भगवान भरोसे, कालिस इत भगवान भरोसे, तन मन धन क्यों ना छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, सच वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तूने, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। प्रेम से बोलिए श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। My dear friends, after giving to Lord Ganesh these wonderful lessons, these wonderful examples, my dear friends, Parvati Mata said to him, O Ganapati, I am going to take a bath, snan, karu. And whilst I am taking this bath, I want you to stand guard here at the entrance to Kailash. Do not allow anyone to enter, O Ganesh, whilst I am taking this bath. And she gave him a stick, a lathi, to assist him in, stand in guard and of course to defend himself if in fact anyone came along whilst Devi Parvati Mata was having her bath. And so, my dear friends, remember what she told him? Be obedient, listen to what I say to you, and carry out my instructions, carry out my wishes at all times, no exceptions. So, as he's standing guard there, my dear friends, Lord Shiva happens to return to Kailash Parvat shortly after Parvati Mata has, gone to take her bath. And so, he's very confused, Lord Shiva is, for he sees this child standing guard there, He does not know the identity of this child. And so he asks, "Who are you?" And he responds, Lord Ganesh responds, "My name is Ganapati. And my mother's name is Parvati." And Lord Ganesh, Lord Shiva is even more confused now. Because he has just left Kailash. Parvati Mata was of course without a child, and he's returned now, and he's been informed by this grown child, it's a balak, it's not a little baby, that this is he's the son of Parvati Mata. So Lord Shiva says to him, "Listen, I am the master of Kailash Parvat. Please stand aside so I can enter into my home." And Lord Ganesh resisted and says to him, "No, my mother says no one is allowed to enter Kailash at this point in time." And so Lord Shiva tried to reason with him at first. One does not resort to confrontation and violence at the first instance. And so he's using a little bit of diplomacy, and in conversation he's trying to convince Ganesh Bhagwan to step aside. "Please, step aside and allow me to enter." And again, Lord Ganesh would refuse, this request from Lord Shiva. And when repeatedly, my dear friends, he has asked, and repeatedly he refuses, Lord Shiva turned to his attendants. "I do not want to lay hands on this child. Please, can you kindly remove him?" Because he does not want to remove himself, willingly. "Can you remove him?" And to his amazement, my dear friends, Nandi and his other attendants, who are always very powerful individuals who can themselves defeat entire armies, my dear friends, this child, using this staff, this piece of stick, this lathi that his mother had given to him, my dear friends, these powerful attendants and warriors that would normally accompany Lord Shiva wherever he goes and wherever he travels, using this lathi, my dear friends, very easily he was able to defeat them. And in a few moments they were lying, my dear friends, on the ground, severely beaten and wounded by this little child, Ganesh. And so Lord Shiva realized that this was no ordinary child, obviously. He possessed supernatural powers. And Parvati Mata had blessed him with her own Shakti. When she gave him that piece of staff, that lathi, she blessed him with her own Shakti. And so he was utilizing, my dear friends, the powers of Divine Mother, Parvati Mata herself. And so realizing that this was no ordinary child, now, my dear friends, he engaged Lord Ganesh in battle. And in fact, it was a very fierce battle. For Lord Shiva, of course, utilized all his powers, and Lord Ganesh responded, my dear friends, in an equal manner with his own powers given to him by his mother, Parvati Mata. And recognizing that this was no ordinary child, my dear friends, as a last resort, he unleashed his Trishul at Lord Ganesh. My dear devotees, as that Trishul struck Ganesh Bhagwan, the head was severed. Now some people ask, so why he didn't replace the same head? Because Lord Ganesh was not created with an elephant head, but he was created with a normal human head. But upon impact, my dear friends, with the Trishul, that human head disappeared. It was nowhere to be found. But the sound that was created, my dear friends, when that Trishul struck Lord Ganesh was a very powerful sound. And in fact, it shook Kailash Parvat. The impact then of that Trishul striking the body of Lord Ganesh and severing the head, and as the body now fell upon the ground, a tremendous sound was heard, and the vibrations of that shook Kailash Parvat. And this alerted Parvati Mata that something was going on the outside. And my dear friends, as she rushed outside to investigate what was happening, she saw the lifeless body of Ganesh Bhagwan lying upon the ground. She was very upset. She was very distressed, my dear friends, by what she saw. And she withheld her own Shakti at that point in time. my dear friends, from this universe, and withdrawing her Shakti from this universe, the wind stopped blowing, many life forms began to suffer, on account of this divine energy of Shakti Mata, Parvati, an incarnation, an avatar of Devi Durga Mata being withdrawn in this manner. Even the Devis and Devatas themselves became frantic and they prayed to Divine Mother to restore that energy, that life source, my dear friends, of this universe. Lord Shiva himself reached out to her, communicated with her, spoke to her and says, "O Devi, I will very shortly restore life to this child. Please," he pleaded with her as well, "allow your energy to be returned to this universe." And so the conditions will be now that she would lay down, my dear friends, for the restoration of life to Ganesh Bhagwan would be given after this bhajan. Jai Jag Janani Bhavani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani, O Rama, O Bhavani, O Rama, Achal Vardani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani, O Rama, Bhavani, O Rama, Achal Vardani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani. I jagmag, 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 jyot biraje, jyot biraje. I jagmag, 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 jyot biraje, jyot biraje. तेज प्रताप निधानी हो राम, भवानी हो राम, अचल बरदानी, जय जग जननी भवानी, जय जग जननी भवानी हो राम, भवानी हो राम, अचल बरदानी, जय जग जननी भवानी। महिमा अगम, महिमा अगम, अपार तुम्हारी, अपार तुम्हारी। महिमा अगम, महिमा महिमा अगम, महिमा अगम, अपार तुम्हारी, अपार तुम्हारी। शेष सुरेश निधानी हो राम, भवानी हो राम, अचल वरदानी, जग जननी भवानी, जग जननी भवानी ho Rama, Bhavani ho Rama, Achal Vardhani, Jai Jag Janani Bhavani. दुख हरनी, सुख संपत्ति करनी, संपत्ति करनी। दुख हरनी, सुख संपत्ति करनी, संपत्ति करनी। करन सकल कल्याणी हो रामा, भवानी हो रामा, अचल वरदानी। जय जग जननी भवानी, जय जग जननी भवानी हो रामा, भवानी हो रामा, अचल वरदानी। जय जग जननी भवानी, जय जग जननी भवानी हो राम, भवानी हो राम, अचल वरदानी। जय जग जननी भवानी, जय जग जननी भवानी हो रामा, भवानी हो रामा, अचल वरदानी। जग जननी भवानी। प्रेम से बोले श्री आदि शक्ति देवी दुर्गा माता की जय. My dear friends, giving that reassurance to Devi Parvati, O Mata, very soon I will restore this child back to life. He spoke to those same attendants just a few moments before, who were severely beaten by Lord Ganesh using that lathi. Proceed in the northern direction. Any creature, the first creature in fact that you come upon, whose mother has deserted it, and who has been born at the same time, carrying the same nakshatra as Ganesh Bhagwan, bring back the head of that creature to me. So certain conditions have to be fulfilled. There is a time, you see, the time of birth is very important. Obviously, in the case of Lord Ganesh, he was not born in the typical sense of a child being born, but that time of creation then, when Parvati Mata had created him. Each moment, my dear friends, has a certain tithi. Each day has a certain tithi, a certain nakshatra, a certain yoga, a certain rashi. And all of these, my dear friends, has varying effects upon us. Some positive, some negative. And this is why from time to time you would go to Baba and you check the Panchang, what is called the Patra. That horoscope would identify, my dear friends, whatever are the governing rasis and planets and so on that can influence your life in a positive way or in a negative way. From time to time it may be out of compliance and some negativity may result, which is called a graha. And sometimes then you have to do certain vrat and fasting and graha puja and so on to avert, and change that negativity in your life. So he's emphasizing the first creature that is born on the same tithi, the same nakshatra as Lord Ganesh, and also whose mother has also deserted that child. And so, proceeding in the direction as indicated by Lord Shiva, my dear friends, in fact, the very first animal that he came upon who fulfilled all of these specifications and requirements was an elephant. And so, taking the head of this elephant, as Lord Shiva had requested, they brought back this head to Kailash Parvati. And my dear friends, here we see, of course, it's important that you have the input of the mother and the father in the creation of a child. Previously, of course, Ganapati Baba came into being just with the mother's input. So now Lord Shiva, of course, is going to add his input. And of course, he also possesses that ability to give that breath of air. And so as that lifeless body lay upon the ground, he placed the elephant head, upon that lifeless body. And my dear friends, he now gave that vital breath of air to Ganesh Bhagwan. And of course, he came alive once more. Prem se bole Shri Gajanan Swami ki jai. And of course, he is known from that time as Gajanan, or he who possesses the elephant head. And nothing could be more symbolical and more meaningful, my dear devotees, as giving to Lord Ganesh that elephant head. The elephant is an animal of immense knowledge. Research has been shown now that an elephant born in a particular locality, in the forests, in India and Africa and Indonesia, or wherever they are born, they will roam for hundreds of kilometers, my dear friends. And at the time of death, they possess that roadmap, that remembrance. And elephants live long, 40, 50, 60 years, and they possess that intelligence to return to the point and the spot where they were born, my dear friends, when, of course, that time comes for them to die. The elephant is a vegetarian, yet the elephant is one of the strongest creatures on this planet. All of these are important lessons, obviously. Some people say, well, I don't feel strong when I'm fasting. And they make it as an excuse now, that, they must have the other type of bhojan. My dear friends, now research is showing that, the vegetarian diet is healthier for you. We know all the research about the cholesterol and what have you, eating the non-vegetarian type of food. So when you look at Lord Ganesh, all of these lessons are coming to us, my dear friends. That elephant head reminds us, the elephant is a vegetarian, yet it is one of the strongest, if not the strongest creature alive on the face of this earth today. And certainly all the nutrients we can get, my dear friends, from the vegetables and so on, and also be strong and powerful as we are supposed to be. And of course, in the coming nights, we will get into many other lessons, my dear friends, that Lord Ganesh teaches us just in this form of Gajanan, he who possesses the elephant head.